So yeah, my name is Debby Kay Dewes, and I am very excited to be sharing some info with you guys today on just how to own your space and be more excited about public speaking. So I actually got into speaker coaching aside from a lot of other things. I think I just love words, so I do copy editing, I do acting when it's not COVID. And I also do speaker coaching. But I got into speaker coaching because personally, I hated public speaking. It terrified me. And I took the kind of approach of if I, fake it till you make it. But it didn't really work for me. I could do it outwardly, I could do a decent speech, but on the inside, I was freaking out. And it was only when I actually I started studying drama and I started to get techniques there for performance that I was like, oh, I can do this for public speaking and it makes my life a whole lot easier. So now I want to share this with other people so that they don't have to go through the trauma that I did with being really afraid of speaking in public and not really knowing how to deal with that kind of stress. And so that's what I do now. And there is Pam. We've seen her a few times today already, and she is one of my students, and she's all very happy. And there she was talking at the Kotlin Everywhere event, I think it was in 2018. And it was just really lovely to see her growth. And that's what I love to do, is to teach people. So hopefully by the end of this, you will also be smiling when you are presenting. And I am going to really just look at 3 points for you today, which have to do with things that you can trust, things that you can kind of use as a safety net for if you're starting to feel stressed or whatever, that you can trust these things to bring you through. And so the first thing that you can trust is your knowledge. So I'm going to paint a scene for you, and hopefully through the scene, you'll kind of catch my drift. But I was in my first year of drama studies, and we were putting on a show at the end of the year. And as a first year, we didn't act, we did all of the technical stuff, and I was doing the lighting for the show. And so I got to sit at the back and I got to see the stage. And a friend of mine was performing, and he was around, I think, third year of drama school, so he was, in it. And it's opening night, and the lights go down, and the theater's full of very excited audience members, and there's like this rush, and he walks onto the stage. And we had practices that he will walk on and then lean against the couch and then start his little speech. So he leans against the couch, and it breaks. I kid you not. So crisis on the stage. And at this point, he had one of two options. Live audience, there is a big problem, what to do? Well, he could panic. He could hope that his scene partner would come on quicker and save him. He could just freeze and, stare at the audience like a deer in headlights, ask for a do-over, oh, sorry. Or he could choose to actually just rely on his training, rely on his knowledge, rely on the fact that he had 3 years worth of training. He had been rehearsing. He had done research. He had done all of these things that he could then just hope that his brain will remember and kind of bring it out of his mouth in a way that makes sense. And so that's what he did. He opted for option 2 because the show must go on. And sure, he didn't use any of the words in the script. He didn't do anything that they had planned in terms of how he was going to move on the stage. When his scene partner came in, she was just like, oh, okay, there's a broken couch on the stage. Let's just wing it, But they knew what needed to happen. They knew the meaning that they wanted to bring across to the audience, and they knew enough to get from point A to point B so that we could continue with the show. And you, as a speaker, can trust the same thing. You can trust that your academic background, your work experience, your life experience, all the things that you know can and will come out of your brain through your mouth to your audience in a way that they can understand. So even if you find that you are forgetting something, or you've skipped over something, or you're just super stressed and you're not 100% sure what your next point was supposed to be, or if you have a really big crisis like your tech fails or something like that, you can know that you don't have to be stressed. You can just go, hang on, I know what I want to tell people. And even if I don't say it in exactly the same way as I practice, that's okay, because the meaning will still come through. But you need to help your brain out a little bit, because when we get flustered, when we have some kind of crisis, it's very easy to just go into panic mode. So you help your brain by breathing, all right? So have a look at this awesome picture of our lungs, right? They're pretty cool, and they're really big. They take up like 2/3 of our torsos. So there is so much air space in your body, and yet when we are stressed, we tend to only breathe here in our chest, right? So I'm being very kind of dramatic. So we kind of do this, right? When we're stressed. And then our brain freaks out because it's like, I need oxygen. So now it's freaking out because it needs knowledge, and it needs to get that knowledge out of your mouth. And then it's freaking out because I can't breathe and stuff like that. So instead, you just take a moment and you remind yourself that your lungs are giants. You breathe out. You breathe in very deeply. And you should actually feel like you're breathing into your stomach, right? So obviously that's not anatomically correct, but your lungs are so big that they actually force your stomach area to expand, all right? So a very easy exercise that you can do when you are practicing, because you can't do this on the stage, unfortunately, but it gets your brain to remember to breathe. So very, very easy. You just take 5 seconds worth of breath in, then hold your breath for 5 seconds, and then breathe out, all right? So I'm actually going to do it, and if you want to, I know I can't see you guys, but you can do it with me. So you breathe in for 5, hold for 5, and breathe out for 5, all right? And you do this as many times as it takes to calm you down. So in your practice runs, if you see, oh, okay, I'm stressed now. Okay, take a moment, breathe, in, hold, out. Okay, then continue. You can do this just before you go onto your stage or onto your call as well, because it calms you down. And then when you are actually talking, your brain is aware that it needs to breathe. And so if you are talking and you're suddenly like, okay, no, wait, I don't feel good, I feel like I'm rushing, or whatever the case is, you just go, okay, breathe. All right, and now I'm going to continue my talk. All right, so you can trust your knowledge, and then you give your brain a little bit of a moment to remember that it knows things by breathing, and then you just continue. All right, so trust point number 2, you can trust your uniqueness. All right. Very often when we start speaking, we are so worried that we have nothing good or new to say. All right. But here's the thing. You see life from a different perspective. Okay. And I'm just going to actually hop on. So I don't have 2 screens. So I'm going to hop back on so I can actually see the chat, because I want to ask you guys a question. All right. One thing that you would love to find out during this conference, or one thing that you are hoping to learn in this conference. If you guys can maybe just put it in the chat, just one thing about this conference, why did you sign up? That would be really great if you can just let me know. Anybody? Yay. Cool. Okay, so we have public speaking. Anybody else? And it doesn't just have to be for my talk. Anything from this conference that you're really looking forward to? Okay, I don't actually know if I'm getting the comments to come up, which I guess kind of defeats my point, but I'm assuming then, okay, I'm just going to go back to, oh, there we go. Okay, so also public speaking, but also a different angle, all right? Exposure, yay, it's coming through now. Doing YouTube videos, all right? So all of these things, yay, they're coming through thick and fast now. Right, so you all have your own desire for this conference, right? And you all have your own reasons for joining my workshop today. And so you can trust that other people have different ideas, right? So if you are unique, just in your perspective, even though it's on the same topic, you have something new to give to your audience, all right? Very simple. You can trust that there is one thing that you know that your audience members don't, all right? You can trust that even if you're talking about something that has been done a million times over, that you, just because of who you are and how you've learned and your personal work experience and all of those things, right, will feed into your speech and give your audience members something that they can take home with you. That takes a lot of the pressure off because you don't need to know everything. You don't even need to be a full expert in your topic. You just have to present it from your unique perspective and people can find value from it. But that's not the only unique thing that you can rely on, right? You can rely on yourself, right? Your actual body, your words, the way you decide to speak. All of these things are really great for engaging your audience, all right? So if you think about it, when we start speaking, we're like, this is the way that a good speech should be presented. I need to stand in a certain way. I need to inflect my voice at a certain level. And if I don't do these things in the way that I have practiced, then I have failed in my speech, right? But what happens when we try to follow a formula or we try to emulate what we think a good speaker looks like, we lose our humanity. We lose the thing in us that makes us unique and that will draw people into what we are saying. And so you actually need to inject yourself into your speech. And a very easy way to kind of project more of yourself is to pay attention to your posture. All right, so when we are nervous or when we're not paying attention, if you have bad posture, then it's just because you're not paying attention. But when we're nervous, we try to kind of hide. And so hopefully you guys can see, but I'm deliberately like scrunching my shoulders a little bit. And you can do it for yourselves now while you're listening. See for yourselves, if you have bad posture, it almost feels like the air is squishing you in, like you can't move, like you feel a little more restricted. And you can't express yourself very well when you're restricted, right? So what do? Very simple. Raise your arms over your head and just drop them to your side. And when you do that, also take a really deep breath, right? So, and suddenly your posture is much better. I hope you can see that my posture is better. And then you stand, and obviously you're not going to see that now, but you stand solidly on both feet. Now, once you're used to being centered, so this is what centering is. Good upright posture, standing on both feet, core engaged. Once you know what this feels like, and you feel how the air kind of expands around you, you suddenly open up, and then you can start moving, you can start using your hands, you can use the space that is available to you and express who you are far more easily than if you're trying to hide and cower in a corner, right? So again, very simple technique that you can immediately apply for when you are presenting. So at this point, I just want to remind you, you can trust your knowledge, you know stuff, and your brain is capable of taking that stuff and putting it through your mouth to the people who are listening. You can trust your body to do what it needs to do. You can breathe deeply, you can stand upright, and you can show who you are. And then you can take that knowledge and present it in a way that is unique. And this will add value to your audience, right? And this leads me to point number 3, which is you can trust your audience. You can trust the people that you are speaking to. If you think about yourselves, right now on this call, did you decide to join this call specifically to nitpick at everything that I was doing wrong? Was that your aim? You woke up this morning and went, cool, let's sign in and hear what Debbie has to say because I want to see all of the things that she's done wrong. Oh, she's skipping words. Oh, she's using her hands too much. Oh, are you doing that now? If you are, please don't put that in the comments because I'm trusting that you're not. I'm trusting that you got onto this call because you wanted to learn something, all right? And so if you're here to learn and I'm here to teach you, that's the interaction. That's not scary. That's saying, I have something that I can give you. Here it is. And you as the audience members are going, thank you, right? And it is amazing how much we can chuck out that maybe annoys us simply because we're trying to learn. What this means then is that your audience likes you, right? They want you to succeed because the better you do in your presentation, the more they can learn, the more they can engage with what you are saying. So they're not walking in going, yeah, let's see what this one has to say now. Oh, she made a mistake, right? That's not what they're doing. They're going, oh, please teach us. What? Okay, let me make a note of that really interesting fact that you just gave me, right? And when you make a mistake, if you feel flustered, if they see, oh, she's had to take a really big breath because you got a little stressed, you know what the audience does? They go, oh, shame, okay. Oh, all right, we'll move on then, right? And so what this means is that you have permission to talk because you have an audience who is willing to listen. All you have to then do is give yourself that same permission and then be as gracious to yourself as your audience is to you. All right. So as I put here, give the same grace you show to others who are doing something brave, because we are very quick to moan at ourselves and get down on ourselves and be like, oh, you did a terrible speech and you should just never talk again or whatever it is. Instead of just going, okay, I made a mistake, I skipped a slide, whatever the case is, that's okay. We breathe and we just move on, and I'll do better next time. And so when we get criticism from audience members, we can take that as a learning opportunity because they wouldn't be bothered to criticize you if they didn't care, right? And so if you get something and you're like, okay, yeah, I messed that up and people have pointed it out, instead of getting hard on yourself, just go, okay, That's fine. Give myself some grace. I'm a human being and I will do better next time. But there's one last thing that you can trust your audience for, which is they don't know what you prepared, right? So coming back to my story of my friend in the beginning, he winged an entire scene and the audience was none the wiser because he didn't make a big deal out of the fact that the couch broke. It just happened and he was like, this has happened now and we are running with it. Okay, not what we planned, but we're going to do the best that we can. To the point that when the audience members walked out of the play, they had thoroughly enjoyed it, and they were wondering how on earth we had managed to time the break at just the right moment. And they were trying to work out the technicality of how did we break the couch and how do we fix it for the next scene. And we're just like, yeah, that was totally a mistake, but glad you guys enjoyed it, right? And so if you are making mistakes while you're talking, instead of getting into your head about it, just go, the audience doesn't know what I plan to say. They just know what I'm saying. So as long as what I'm saying is making sense, we're good. Okay. So to recap, you can trust your knowledge, you can trust your uniqueness, and you can trust your audience. You can trust that what you are going to tell them they want to hear, and you can trust that they will be receptive to it and that you can actually move then from being afraid to actually having fun when you are talking. And that for me was the biggest thing in my own journey, was like public speaking can actually be fun. And so if you want to learn a little bit more about how to have fun when you're public speaking, or if you want to practice your public speaking, and there's a lot of stuff that I obviously didn't cover today. And if you're still not 100% sure about how to own your space, because, okay, we've got some mental groundwork and some very quick physical tips, but there's still lots to learn. You are welcome to contact me. You can get hold of me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. I am not very active, but I do respond to messages quite quickly. So if you are interested, then please do contact me for any coaching advice or whatever, and I'll be happy to hear from you. And other than that, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. And there we go. All right, so yeah, that's me. I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of the conference. I will not be on Slack, unfortunately, for today, but you are welcome to contact me on my other platforms. And I'm done. Thank you for listening.
Oh my gosh, did I not enjoy your session? Like, I was just like, yes, this is what happens to me every time I talk. But I loved it. It was amazing. I hope everyone else enjoyed it as much as I do or did. Yeah, because it's very important to be able to just roll with the punches. Like if you're stumbling, how do you just pick yourself up and keep it going? Yeah, so thank you so much for your wonderful talk. Like I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, Debby.
Sorry, I do actually just see a question in the comments, and I see I have a little
Okay.
bit of time.
Okay.
um,
Okay. So let me just read it out for you. It's saying, I'm guessing you're correct. You correct your posture before the talking, not during the talking, right? So you do it like you fix yourself up before you start talking, not when you're talking. So which one is
yeah,
it?
so it's the same thing as with your breathing. So you do your breathing beforehand so that your brain will remember to breathe when you're talking. And in the same way, you fix your posture beforehand because then you walk onto the stage or wherever and you're already like, yo, I'm here, pay attention, right? But you might find if you're starting to get stressed while you're talking, you might do weird things with your posture. But because you've prepped beforehand, just the same as with your breathing, you can be like, posture, and then you just stand up straight again, right? Nobody's going to think twice about it unless you're doing the whole, you can't do the straight like this unless you can very, very strategically do it in your speech, but that you can't do, but you can at least remind yourself to stand up straight. So, yeah.
No, that's really cool. So sometimes with me, I do quite a few hackathons. What I do is I psych myself out and I prep. Because if I don't prep, it's just like, but
Yeah,
even if I don't prep, I just roll with the punches and I think before I speak, or I try to.
yeah. And that's the great thing is the more you prep. So like I said with my friend, that was rehearsals for months, that was research, that was years of experience. So you want to do as much preparation because then you know that you can trust your knowledge. You know that your brain has it. So yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't fail you because sometimes people freeze when they like, especially when you get stage fright, and then it's like everyone is looking at you. Then now you panic even more, and you're like, okay, no, I don't know what to say. But if you've practiced, it becomes easier because now you're like, okay, the audience is watching, everyone is looking. How do I roll with the punches now?
Yes, yes. And then you just breathe because it calms you down and then you can answer better too.
Okay, that's very true. Thank you so much.